Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, I have a couple of bizarre stories, folks. One, alien encounters that take place in South Wales, and another, people see this flying reptilian bird and this shape-shifting serpent it turns into. Let's read both accounts by starting South Wales UFO encounters, anomalous signs that defied explanation. Get into this account and then read the next one and have one hell of a great time delving into the weird world of the bizarre. As a boy in Newport, South Wales, one witness recalls a series of encounters with strange aerial craft. First, a lunar module-like object vanishing into a black cloud. Later, a triangular UFO with glowing lights. And finally, a massive green-ringed spear skimming beneath the clouds. Decades later, with headlines of a police corroboration and memories still sharp, the question remains, what really hovered over South Wales, and why did it choose to reveal itself to him? One hell of an opening, folks. Let's get into his actual account now. I had an encounter with a UFO when I was 10 years old. It was at school and I was playing football on the playground. When I looked up and saw this craft, it looked just like the lunar module with windows surrounding the bottom. It was hovering in the air when a low black cloud moved across and covered it. When the cloud moved out of the way, the craft was gone. Very strange, folks, and very bizarre. Do you suppose that this UFO really did look like the lunar module, or that somehow this craft, well, maybe it camouflaged itself and basically made itself look like the lunar module? We can read on and theorize about that after we read through the rest of this man's story. I told my mother I had seen the Apollo returning to Earth because that's what it looked like. The Apollo mission was happening at the time, but I didn't know about it until my mother explained that they landed in the Pacific Ocean. It took me a few years to realize what I had seen. That's when I decided it wasn't of this Earth. When I was 14, I was with a group of friends playing in the nearby woods next to a golf course. We went onto the course and sat on one of the tee-off bunkers. It was starting to get dark, so we decided to head home when one of the boys said, "What's that up there?" When we looked up there were 3 lights, blue, red, and green, in a triangular shape, and they weren't moving. We were too scared to move and just sat there watching it. It felt like ages until one of the guys said the lights were dimming. They weren't dimming, they were getting smaller. I realized it was rising, and as soon as it was out of sight, we ran toward the local school because it was lit up. We wouldn't go back into the woods. Smart. Very smart boys here, folks, and I'm glad that nothing actually seems to have happened to them. Though I would ask if they think that they had any missing time, or if noticed maybe something was off. Either way, very interesting, but let's finish up this article and then we can talk about it a little more, folks. So let's get back to it now. When I got home, I told my parents what had happened, but they seemed to ignore me. The next evening, the local paper's headline read, "Policeman spots triangular UFO in the Beacons, about 30 miles from us as the crow flies on the same night as us." That's when my mother believed my story. A couple of weeks later, I was walking with my friend going to our paper route, and as we were heading to the local shops, a green ring with a green ball in the center flew over us. It looked like it was going to hit a block of flats in the distance, but it went over the horizon. It was so big it seemed low, and since it was overcast, it must have been beneath the clouds. All of this happened in Newport, Gwent, South Wales, within 2 miles of my house. I'm 50 years old now, and I remember all of it as if it were yesterday. I will never forget, and I know where I saw T. So, did T actually see these UFOs, folks? As I said, he swore he saw the lunar lander, only it seemed to have, well, a bunch of windows on the bottom. I thought maybe, like I've read before, folks, that maybe this UFO took the form of the lunar lander, because maybe this UFO had the capability of transformation. Literally, it could make itself either basically look like anything it wanted, because it could literally shapeshift, or it was putting out some sort of field that made T here see it as a lunar lander, or at least something close to it, folks, because that's what it seems like to me. So, we also have to ask, folks, these other UFOs that T saw, were they maybe the same vehicle? Only, as I said, folks, they somehow had the ability to alter its appearance and look like these other anomalous objects? Or were they different signs of different UFOs being flown over South Wales? Either way, it's something to wonder about. And I hope T will share any future encounters he has. But let's move on to the next article. Reptilian bird and shapeshifting aerial serpent witnessed over Los Angeles, and hear exactly what the witnesses saw. On a quiet January night in Los Angeles, a couple witnessed a massive reptile-like creature soaring above the city, its wings flapping with the grace of a prehistoric predator. Yet even stranger was a serpentine encounter, a shape-shifting snake-like object in the sky that seemed aware of their presence, leaving the question, what kind of beings really move through our urban skies after dark? Indeed, folks, what indeed does. Now, I said that this serpentine creature maybe, well, basically transformed from the bird-like entity that they encountered into this entity. That's because the fact is that when you bring up shapeshifters, folks, in a story, and you have more than one encounter with some weird entity, then you have to basically consider that maybe what you're seeing is the same entity, and not just several different cryptids. One of them happens to be a shapeshifter. Either way, that's my point there, folks. But let's read the actual account now. Hello, this incident occurred in Los Angeles, California. On January 10th, 2024, I was at my boyfriend's apartment when we decided to head out to my parked car in the alley next to his building. We sat in the car, listening to music and talking with the sunroof open. As we admired the stars, we noticed about 10 black flying objects moving in a V formation. They looked like small birds, but their speed and the late hour around 10 p.m. indicated that they couldn't be birds. Intrigued, we got out of the car for a clearer view of the sky. That's when I saw a large reptile-like creature that appeared to be a bird. It had feathers and wings, and I could see its wings flapping as the wind blew the feathers. The creature reminded me of a pterodactyl. It was enormous and seemed to be a mix of reptile and bird. I observed it for less than a minute before it flew out of sight behind the apartment building. That's very terrifying, but it gets even better, folks. Interestingly, I had witnessed another flying object in the same area about a year earlier. At that time, I was at the same car in the alley next to the new Caver apartments in downtown Los Angeles. This object was different from the black flying objects and the bird-like creature. It was brown and moved in a waving motion, almost like a snake in the sky. It appeared to hover, as if floating effortlessly. When my boyfriend and I spotted this object, it suddenly shape-shifted to match the color of the sky. We both sensed a strange energy emanating from it, almost as if it were aware of our presence. Despite its transformation into a cloud-like form, it remained visible. However, in less than a minute, we somehow lost sight of it. Very interesting story, folks, and totally out there as well. What was this entity that they encountered? Was it really some sort of shape-shifting flying serpent, a dragon? And what about this pterodactyl reptilian bird that the couple saw as well a year later? Are they related to each other, folks? I have to ask, because when you mention shapeshifters and you see this entity literally shifting form in some manner, then any other encounter you have with an entity in the same area, you have to ask here, folks, maybe it's the same being, only it basically transformed itself into something else. I've heard about such encounters as well, folks, and it makes you think that if indeed this is the case, it might explain all these different cryptid encounters that people are seeing. Maybe they're seeing some sort of shapeshifters, and they take different forms, or maybe in reality these are their true forms, but they can shapeshift into other forms to hide. It's certainly an idea, folks, and certainly the 10 objects that the person, our witness, saw makes you think of UFOs as well, folks, though there's a possibility there might be some sort of drones, maybe even military drones that were in search of these reptilian creatures that were flying through the sky. It's also another idea to wonder about, folks, but we can't be for sure. I will say, though, folks, if these entities do exist, then there are probably a wide range of them, and that they probably explain a great many things that people see. But I don't think it's just one species there, folks, because I think there are aliens, monsters, things that people can explain, and I don't think that are all related to each other. I think they're different facets of different phenomena, but they might be very intelligent, folks, because for all we know, we're talking about aliens here. Either way, very interesting, but we're at the end. So please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.